so much work to do. Oh, that's why I had to postpone till half 7. I've still got loads of work to do, but I want to fulfill my commitments, and you know, I've committed to doing this streaming stuff, and though I am considering changing the times to help facilitate, you know, to try to help everyone get involved, you know, because I'm in the UK. I only have a very small fan base in the UK. Most of my fans, based on looking at demographics, you know, on YouTube and Facebook, etc. Most of my fans are where I'm not. But a lot of them seem to be, you know, west of here, you know, South America, North America, Canada. I have a few, you know, in Europe, and a few in the UK. So I'm trying to think, how can I get this streaming thing to cater better for the larger fan base, but you know, to really hit that sweet spot, I've got to be streaming at something like 4 AM UK time, and that's just, I just don't think I could do that. I don't think. I mean, on top of the fact that, you know, I'd have to get up. I really don't think I'm going to be compos mentis at 4 AM to be even slightly entertaining. Not that I'm entertaining now, but just to be a bit more, you know, awake. I'm going to have to sit there with like a gallon of tea just to get myself going. And I just don't think it's a possibility. So I'm just trying to think, maybe if I push the streams later into the night, you know, when I start at 8:30, I seem to get more people turning up than 7, you know, so I might push these into like 8, 8:30 instead of 7, just so more people can get involved. I mean, the whole point of streaming is to have an audience, so to speak, to have people here in chat. So I just would like to be able to facilitate that for people. It's just, you know, it's just the logistics of it all. End of the day, I mean, the reason why I'm doing this streaming stuff is so I can then put these recordings onto my YouTube channel, so that I can get more watch time on YouTube and hopefully force them to give me back my monetization, because I don't make any money through streaming, other than I do believe that when I do my Silent Hill playthroughs that they can sometimes garner an audience and occasionally encourage members of that audience to then pick up a copy of Silent Hill Requiem. So I suppose it works in that regard, and that's kind of why I've been streaming Silent Hill games. I mean, on top of the fact that I enjoy playing them, and you know, obviously I love the game, otherwise I wouldn't have spent 3 years making a feature film based upon them, but also the reason I'm streaming this Silent Hill content is like a pseudo advertisement for Silent Hill Requiem, you know, to make people more aware that there's a new Silent Hill fan feature film that exists. You know, I'm indie, so I don't have a marketing budget, and even if I did, it's a fan film, so you know, it's, you can't market it in the usual places because it's a fan film. You know, I wouldn't, even if I had the money, I wouldn't be able to get an advert on television, you know, because it's a fan film. That's not the sort of thing they would advertise. There's a website that's recently got in touch with me, Horror Fan Films, that wants to do a review of Requiem. I just need to sort them out a review copy, and they're going to do a review, and they're going to put up the opening 13 minutes. They're going to put that up in their Silent Hill fan film selection, and they've got, what was it, eight? Yeah, I think it was like 8 little Silent Hill short films, fan films on there. Oh no, sorry, some of them were a couple of trailers for projects that were unsuccessful in their crowdfunding. Oh, it was weird. Someone was crowdfunding a short Silent Hill film, which is what gave me the idea to make a Silent Hill film, and then I was encouraged to then crowdfund my short film to make it into a feature, and I successfully raised the money that I wanted to raise. It wasn't a huge amount, I was only looking for $3,000, I ended up with 5. Then while I was, you know, story scripting, then storyboarding, I noticed that a load of other people started to pop up out of the woodwork trying to get crowdfunding for their Silent Hill project, and I was like, oh, someone's seen, you know, that I've had a successful crowdfund, and now, you know, now they're thinking, you know, like how I did when I saw the short film get success. But they were asking for ridiculous sums of money, you know. Like, I think one of them, they wanted like 70 grand in crowdfunding. You know, they had no kind of back catalogue in terms of any kind of example for their work. They had a trailer that they'd made, and it was just done, you know, in the same sort of vein as the trailers I made, a lot of green screen stuff. And I was just thinking, well, what do you need 70 grand for? You know, I mean, when you watch the trailer, it didn't look like they had any sort of specific names in the film. You know, it all looked like, you know, relatively unknowns, which is who I was working with on Requiem. They were unknowns are not unknowns. You know, some of them now have got quite a big reputation. They probably won't work with me anymore. But I was just thinking, what do you need that amount of money for? If your trailer is shown to be all green screen stuff, you know, so if you're going to be filming it all on green screen, then you don't need to be hiring locations, which is where a lot of the money can go. You're not hiring, you know, established talent, shall we say. You know, what do you need 70 grand for? And I was just thinking, you're not going to get that. You know, I was surprised to raise 5. You know, I mean, it took 45 days to raise 5 grand. I mean, granted, we raised the 3 grand in 7 days. No idea how that happened. People just saw it and thought, oh my god, this looks awesome. And within 7 days, we raised the 3 grand that I wanted. And I was like, well, the crowdfunder's still running, so that's why we did stretch goals and ended up getting 5. You know, but last minute as well, you know, we had something like 4,970, I think, and then someone that had already donated before donated again so that his friend could get a copy, and so that we hit the 5 grand stretch goal. You know, so it was, you know, it wasn't like, oh yeah, I just raised 5 grand with no effort. You know, it was tough to get to that, like, and I'm thinking, Christ, you guys want so much money to make these films. I mean, I get it, films are expensive. I mean, granted, I worked out of pocket for 3 years editing Silent Hill Requiem. I didn't get paid to edit that film. I mean, I didn't get paid at all. I mean, like I said, we got 5,000, and out of that 5,000, I maybe saw 200, probably, maybe less. Most of that money went on actors, and then the rest of the money went on props and costume. Now, I had my own green screen studio, which was, you know, a space that I had access to 24/7. I had my own lights, I had my own camera, got my own computer and the editing software, you know. So all I needed money for was, you know, the practicalities of it all, paying the actors and then making sure they looked the part and had the right tools for the job. And you know, and that was it. But when you're asking for like 30 to 70 grand to make a fan feature film, I just think that's ridiculous. I really do. You know, if it's your own film, you know, it's your own film, your own IP, I can understand asking for that amount of money. you know, because it's yours and you're going to be able to sell it. But if it's a fan film, it's not yours. It's never really yours. Yeah, you put the effort into making it, you know, and it's your story, shall we say, but you're using someone else's characters, using someone else's setting. You know, so you shouldn't be so, oh yeah, let's raise 70 grand, you know, it's like, that's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. I don't think I've ever seen a feature film by unknowns raise more than about 15 grand. You know, and I was lucky to raise 5. I mean, when we did the crowdfunder for the sequel to Requiem, we've only raised, so far, we've not even raised half the budget that I'd like to have had. You know, I wanted to get 8 because I wanted to make a 12-part series out of it rather than make another feature film, and so far I think we've raised 3 and a bit, so we're getting to half, but that wasn't in the span of the actual crowdfunding campaign. That, you know, after the crowdfunding campaign I think we'd raised 2.5, and then since then we've raised another, I think another 800, and you know, I'm still getting donations in, I wouldn't say regularly, but on average I'd reckon at least 2 a week since the campaign finished. So hopefully by next summer, which is when we've rescheduled to film, we'll have the full 8. But you know, who knows? Crowdfunding is hard. I mean, you're asking the general public to give you, you know, their money. And granted, you know, that's what mate Adam was talking about the other day. It's like he'll happily go down the pub and just throw away 50 quid on booze, but then he'll quibble about buying a £3 game on Steam, you know. And it's just like, yeah, it's the weird mentality, you know. It's just the way we are.